T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey everybody, I am Katrina from Cat We Trust, but also one of the hosts and writers of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And today, joined with me is the CEO, the hostess with the mostest, the woman who just has all these hats that she wears, but she does it so fabulously, TK Trinidad.
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Just got off of doing the news, I believe, right?
Yeah, doing the new. I'm hoping this is my Friday, and tomorrow will be a lot calmer. But we go with the flow. Here we are.
Yes, here we are. So we are going to be reviewing NXT for this past week, as well as NXT UK that was on 3 p.m. Eastern time, at least. So we can get right into it. So starting off NXT this week. It kind of started off with Miss Roxanne Perez, kind of in a precarious situation. She clearly had some issues happening where she was like laid on the floor, and you had like Cora standing around her, and like the security kind of trying to see what happened with her and all of that stuff. And so I liked it. I you know how WWE does with these backstage parking lot situations where it's like you kind of already knew exactly where it was going. At least I did when I first saw it, and so I wasn't surprised when we got there. But yeah, I thought it was a nice way, I guess, to kind of you have her out on top at the end last week, the week prior, and then now have her kind of like just something happened, or she's heard of is with it, especially right before her big title shot for the NXT Women's Championship. So,
right.
What were your thoughts, I guess, on that scenario?
Well, we wanted to. Oh, I'm getting some feedback. Is that me? We wanted to prolong the excitement for Roxanne, but of course we want to create a storyline. So if she, went up against Mandy and she lost or she won, then that would have been the end of that. So she already won the tag team championships, and we don't know quite what's happening with that, if they're still tag team, whatever. But then that kind of prolongs, her run or her chasing of, the singles belt. So although, we didn't like the turnaround time because it's literally like a week. But what would you have done if that didn't happen? Like, she would have had the match, and then if she won it, then it's like, okay, then what? And then if she lost it, then it's like, okay, then what? So whoever, I'm sure a lot of people were upset because like, damn, we were just helping her celebrate. But then, as far as the grand scheme of things and the way the storylines go, it makes sense to kind of prolong everything. So like I said, I wasn't a fan of it, but taking a step back and taking your emotions out of it, which is very helpful in life, by the way, just take your emotions out of it sometimes, then you could see the full perspective and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I knew it was gonna happen just because of other things, and I feel like I don't know if it's writer brain, where I feel like I can always pick up certain things before other people do, and I'm like, I hope I was wrong. But I understand that level too of like, okay, this should prolong when she finally can get that yay moment for that. So not too shabby, but I was kind of not gonna lie. I was like, we could have went so many ways, but I guess if this is how we're gonna go about this way, it's fine. So the very first match of the night was Mr. Apollo Cruz versus Giovanni Vinci. And so I thought it was a pretty solid match. I felt like throughout it they were pretty evenly matched in my opinion. And then we see Zion Quinn, who was he kind of like popped up during the match, which I was kind of like, all right. And I like him, but I don't really know what NXT is doing with him just yet. And so I feel like, you know, we'll see what they're due. But I did like the match. I thought it was enjoyable, but I figure once, Zion kind of did what he did, Apollo was going to lose the match as he wound up doing. And so then I was like, oh, okay. Uh like I'm guessing this is setting him up for to continue his feud, I guess, with Quinn. But I was like, it kind of once that happened, I didn't think it was gonna be anything else, honestly. But otherwise, it was a pretty solid match. I thought it was a nice open after the whole scenario with Roxanne, and I know there was I think a mid dive moment where it was like deadlifted into a suplex that I really thought that was a really spot on type of spot for me. I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. But yeah, solid opening to NXT.
Yeah, I feel like with Apollo, like him coming back, do you think he's more of like helping to uh not unnecessary like where Mandy is? Because Mandy came back down and now she's kind of like dominating the division. And do you think it's the same thing for him, or do you think he's just helping the talent, but he's not going to get like the accolades that Mandy is receiving right now? Like I feel like that's not going to be his pathway.
Honestly, I don't. I did like that they gave Mandy the opportunity to be more than the pretty face on the other main roster because it's kind of questionable where they was going. So I did like that they gave her a hair change and she came down there. And even though she's doing it in heel fashion and she has toxic attraction with her, it definitely put some new life into what she was in WWE. I don't know. I feel like they had him with the whole like Luke Cage kind of vibes I was getting from him when he was just beat up, like the guy in the alley and in the restaurant. But then when he was like last week, when he was like, he thought he was having an identity crisis, which I was a little bit annoyed by it because I'm just like, dude, you did this whole spew about how it was important to like acknowledge your heritage and your culture. And then all of a sudden it's identity crisis. And so that did annoy me. So I'm not really sure what they're doing with this necessarily. I'm hoping, but I feel like he's gonna probably be a situation like when Dolph went back down there. I believe he did win NXT championship when he was down there as well. I don't think he held it long, but so I don't know if it's gonna be one of those situations or he's literally down there like Natty was, just to kind of help some of the talent that's down there. So I'm not sure, but who knows?
We'll see.
So the next, I believe, was a segment with Cameron Grimes still kind of, talking about his fail to win the title last week. And so I don't know. Personally, I felt like this promo wasn't one of his best promos, honestly. I felt like he's done a lot of better promos going in, especially going into this matchup with Braun Breaker. But then I believe JD McDonough, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, kind of also had an issue. I know he has like a new name now. Kind of like went out there, kind of mocked him, and his struggles is like losing and everything. And so I felt like this was a way to kind of set up the feud, for them. And so it was solid. I didn't like the promo only because I felt like he's done better promos. in NXT. And so I'm not sure if it was supposed to play up the fact that he was still upset about losing, but I felt like he did better promos. But I do see that they're kind of setting up this new feud with former Devlin. And so it's weird when they just randomly changed the name. And I'm like, wait, what? And so gotta get used to the new name. But it wasn't bad, but I like that this could be a good feud. I do like that. I feel like NXT 2.0 kind of quickly give the feuds, like they are like always giving us like back to back, where it's not too much of a drag. Like where we get like the Brock versus Roman for the 20th time, and it's like, all right, at least space that out or something. And so I enjoyed that part of it, I guess.
I think with his promo, it's one of those things where he's a different character because we have seen better promos from him, but this version of Cameron Grimes is just kind of like a much somber one. Jordan Devlin, I guess his name is. Bobby's letting us know. It's just more of a somber one and not the outlandish person we're used to seeing. So if we take away knowing him from that version to the version that we know him now, it was a pretty solid promo. The fact that anybody could, because we see it sometimes where somebody gives a promo and you could tell that it's memorized and they don't have the emotion behind it. With him, he's giving the emotion behind it, and you kind of believe like this is literally what happened. This is how he felt. So I'm for that. It was a good promo, and I do definitely agree that NXT, there are no shortages of feuds. Whereas like it just confuses me when you see the main roster and it's just like, wait, so are you guys not like, are you like part of the same family, but you're like the family on the East Coast? Like, you're part of the same family, but that one side of the family that's on the other side of the state is just not, they just not quite. So I don't know. Is it just a different set of writers and we just don't associate with them? I just don't understand the differences, the stark differences between them. And then the name changes is just absolutely like I just love for one day just for WWE to just release a bat. Like, this is what happens behind the scenes. This is why we decide to, this person is no longer going by two names. They're going by one name, but we still refer to that person as like two names. It's weird. But I think it was a good promo. I do like the setup for this possible feud.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like NXT got that part very well done, as allowing gimmicks to kind of do what it needs to do before quitting so easily on them. But also, again, I like that the feuds, once to get rid of one feud, we know the feud is done, right to the next one. It is not this weird like, okay, we don't see them for 4 weeks, and then surprise, we got the same feud we had last month or something, and tries to be insane WWE. But I maybe if they're just like the relatives we don't really talk to, less at the reunion, the family reunion, we haven't seen somebody in like 10 years.
And you're like, oh, you're part of the family.
like cousin, and you're like, oh, I am. Like I'm not sure. Did we meet? Like one of those situations. I feel like it's totally that. Also important, I guess, right after to note was Roderick Strong did say to Damon Kemp that he's going to teach him a lesson for costing him the NXT Tag Team Champion. So I believe that match will be scheduled for next week. And so I don't know. I feel like he's on his way out the door anyway. Not that I'm listening to the rumors or anything. I just feel like all his homies is gone. And it's like I don't know what they're really doing with his character necessarily. So we'll see. So next match up was Caden Carter versus Tatum Paxley, and Caden was accompanied by Katana and Tatum by Ivy now. So I definitely felt like, especially in the beginning of this, Caden definitely was clearly the veteran in the situation. I felt like she definitely outmatched her a lot in the matchup, just because I guess Tatum is so new, and so I respect that you see she's getting better. I feel like every time we see her, she's gotten better so far, but clearly Caden was the one with more wrestling and ring knowledge, so that was pretty good. I thought also that Tatum did so pretty well, and I thought like a lot of the offenses that Caden was doing, that she made it look like Caden was really kicking her pine, and I thought, I was like, okay, that's good. I kind of wish they would have gave it a little bit more time because it was only like a 3-minute match, I believe. and so it really wasn't that long. But you know, once surprisingly they had Kaden lose this, which I was like kind of like, considering how outmatched Tatum in the whole match. And so I thought they would have had her pick up the win, especially since they lost the she didn't like win the tag titles when they was going against them before Cora and Roxanne got it. You kind of want them to do something with Kaden and do something with Katana or something, because I feel like they're there, but they're not using them really well yet, because they've been there for so long, and so I don't feel like they use them the way they need to. Tatum did get off with the win. And I did see that also. It seemed that Tatum was really focused on, like, she seemed like she wanted to impress Ivy, which I thought, I guess, is good. We can kind of see some kind of like bond there, or maybe this could be used further on. So it was a good match. I just kind of wish it was a little longer. And I was a little bit surprised with the win, only because I thought Kaden was definitely better in the match for the time that they were allotted.
Gosh, you just summed up everything, and I'm like totally agree with you. I feel like with the, is it Kaden, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many stuff that you could do with her that like they're not quite sure what they can do with her. Cause I don't even know what story. Cause you know how you'd see some people, some wrestlers, and you're like, okay, this storyline, I could see this. This is where I want to go. And then some people you just don't see, you can't see the vision. I feel like I can't see what the direction for her is as a wrestler and as a character. And I think that's what maybe they're trying to figure out. Like when she first came onto the scene, I could see you could like try to use her strength and, almost like a warrior of some sort. But now it's just like, I'm not sure. And I think if I'm not sure, then the writers might not be sure either. And now you're getting these kind of matchups that are like, okay. Because I remember the match, but it wasn't like a standout in this whole NXT program.
Yeah, she definitely had better matches. I just that's why I was really surprised I didn't let her win it, because I'm like, while Tatum is getting better, and I guess this is going to be used at some point with her and Ivy, it's just what are we doing with Kaden? What are we doing with Katana? I feel like they're there, and we know they pop up to do matches, but I'm not really sure what the goal is with her. And it's unfortunate because she's been there for some time. And and again, I don't want her to lose her job or anything. It's just, with WWE randomly just releasing people, you can never be sure who is like, who should be safe, but then when it's like the NXT people, you're not really too sure. And so you would think, because they're both still on the roster, that they was like, okay, let's do something with them. And so I don't know, but we'll see. I'm hoping that they can do a little more with her, where I kind of have a better understanding of what they're trying to do, because I really don't know. I feel like she's just kind of there. She's just there right now, and it's like, well, I'm glad you're working. I'm glad you're getting paid for this, but it's also like, it would be nice for her to see that she has some kind of direction or something. Right after that, Joe Gacy did kind of interrupt the commentators at the time to talk about Chisholm. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Kind of future, and I'm not sure, again, like, I kind of felt like with Joe Gacy, they were kind of doing this whole like cult kind of thing, and I was all for it, because I like, if it's done right, I like it. If it's done correctly, and I'm like, all right, this is not like too off the top. So we'll see, but I like that at least I feel like even if you don't see a person have a match, or at least with NXT, sometimes you will see them just a couple of segments to let the people know they're still around. So I was okay with the little segment. So next match up was Duke Hudson versus Sangha. So apparently Duke Hudson, it was more of a situation where I felt like Sangha was kind of annoyed. He's been actually like dominating half of the matches he's been in, if not all. So there was like, this was pretty like really, it wasn't really I feel like his matches are more squash matches, if anything. Like, they're not really, sorry, too far off. They're not really really long matches where he pretty much like beat him up and gave a choke slam. And so I'm not sure if this is what the goal is with them, as far as having people he go against put up more fights, because I feel like even when he went against Quinn, it was the same thing. It was like a quick squash, and I'm like, but he can wrestle. Why are we squashing these people? Like, it's not like this is like a nobody or the jobber that we don't like, the one person who popped up and we know they don't get like a theme song or they don't get like a really big intro. They're just kind of sitting in the ring waiting, and we know like, okay, they're gonna squash this person. It's like these are people who's pretty solid enough. Why are they getting squashed like this? And so I guess I get the whole powerhouse situation, like you're gonna be super dominant. But it's also like, can we at least have this not be people we know can wrestle? So it's like that's kind of agitating. So it was a really quick match. So I didn't really like have any real thoughts about it. Just like I can see they're trying to make this a situation where he's always dominating. I just don't know how smart that is for some of his opponents.
Yeah, maybe it's like the Jade thing where I mean, obviously he's not in the position that Jade's in, but if you have maybe they're setting him up for that, like he's dominating everything and they're setting him up for something down the line. Like there has to be some type of payoff. If there's no payoff in this, and then all of a sudden he starts losing, then like what's the point? So I'm hoping that there is some type of payoff with the with these bookings that they have him in.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm hoping so because it's like, all right, come on. So after this, they had Pretty Deadly walk into like some kind of bar. It looks like it was a country bar or something, and they challenged Brooke Jensen and Josh Briggs. And so I'm guessing this will be a match for next week. And so Pretty Deadly has been winning me over. I felt like they're like over the top. And so if it's done right, I'm not too like, annoyed by it. But I'm looking forward to the match. I think it will be a good one. Uh so right after that, we got Solo Sikoa versus Von Wagner. And so this match I actually really, really enjoyed. Let me go back to the correct photo. Here we are. So it seemed like this was definitely like a lot of back and forth, which I did appreciate. There was like every time Wagner would like beat up Solo, he kind of got right back up. And I like that they're showing his like tenacity. I feel like he's doing that a lot with his matches. Uh and then even to the point where the match kind of spilled over to like the backstage area, and like
Mm-hmm.
they were outside, I believe, and so it got like real extra serious, where it was like, okay, this is a really good matchup. And so because of that, there was no winner. It was a double count out matchup, and it kind of, it was kind of a situation where it was like, before that, Stone and Crumble was kind of saying like Wagner can beat up Soko anywhere, and so I guess it made sense to kind of have it kind of spill out to the back. And so I did like that to the point where it was like they were in the parking lot, and since the parking lot seems to be the theme this week or NXT, and then even after like the brawl stopped, I thought it was pretty cool when Sikoa was kind of frustrated, and so he threw poor Stone. He threw Robert Stone into the trash bags, and I totally understood that of why he did it because he was talking a lot of trash at that moment. But it was definitely one of my favorite matches of the night. I thought it was really good, and I'm hoping we can see more of this. I thought it was a really good match for the night. And I did like that, because there was no real winner, and you can kind of keep this feud going for a bit because nobody actually won the match. It was just like a bunch of brawling and like really good back and forth, and it was like really intense. And so I feel like we can really get something out of this going forward if they continue the feud.
Yeah, I think Kane said it best when we were talking about. I think we were talking about one of the feuds on WWT Live, where it's like we need a parking attendant or some type of security in the parking because it's just kind of one of those things where it goes haywire. People get jumped and it's all this stuff. So it was good though, and I do like the ending. And it speaks to the level of wrestling because not everybody can sustain that, because sometimes people go outside of the ring and then they're in the hallway and all this other stuff, and you could see it's very choreographed, and then some people do it and they do it so well that you're like, wait, like how are you able to make this look so well, but then you also know that it's wrestling, so it's a catch-22 with that, but it was good overall.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite matches of the night. And again, I'm gonna have to agree with the whole parking attendant because I feel like there's always something happening on NXT in the parking lot.
Some
Or like
shenanigans.
yeah, definitely a lot of shenanigans, and Harry and about my shenanigans, but uh I think there needs to be some security or better security happening because I'm like, how is all this going on and nobody is ever aware that all of this stuff happened until like afterwards? You're like, oh, this happened, and so no, they need to work on that. Somebody in NXT need to get that together. So there was a segment with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. They had their wins last week, and so they were kind of partying. And so again, as I feel like I say every week, Carmelo is always really nice to look at. And so it's just like, okay, he was just there, just being fine and not having to work this week. And I'm like, you know what? You deserve a break after all what you gave us for the last few weeks. You deserve a break to just look nice and be with your buddy Trick and just enjoy it. And so I thought it was a nice little segment. Nothing like I like also that again, if they're not wrestling, NXT do have them do a lot of different segments, which kind of gives you some insight into what they're doing with the gimmicks, which I appreciate. And I don't know how well they can do that on like Raw or SmackDown with the way they do that writing. Would this work on like that, doing these type of segments where it's like we had a match, let's go right into a segment that sounds kind of like, wait, why are we like why are you at the club, or like why are you in the parking lot like getting beat up, or like why are you in like the diner? And I feel like these work so much well on NXT 2.0. So it was a nice little segment, but I think he enjoyed his little break.
We have Bobby with the question: who's the next challenge for Carmelo Hayes?
I don't know. Maybe if they have Quinn look a little better and not have him just. I mean, I feel like they kind of setting him up with Capello too, so I don't know. I feel like there are options. If Roderick does stay, maybe Roderick Strong. If he stays and he doesn't leave in the next month or so, maybe it could be him. I still think there's a possibility that they might break up him and Trick, since they kind of left some of that over the last few weeks about Trick kind of needed Carmelo. So they could very well break them up, and that could be a thing too. And so there's some options. But I guess we'll see. Right now, I did like that they were kind of just enjoying they win, and I did see their social media posts where they had like the girls. They're like, all right, guys, you got you women have fighters used to do after they win a match. So that was pretty solid. The next match up was a women's match, and so it was Lash Legend versus Indy Hartwell. And so, I tell this every time we mention Indy, but I forever miss her and Dexter. So this was unfortunately a very, very quick match. It wasn't like there was a lot of Last Legend did beat up Indy for a good chunk of it, of what was there. But it didn't last as long as I thought it should have. And Alba Fry, who was had an issue with Lash Legend last week, kind of came out standing what the baseball bat, which I thought was a nice little with the lighting and everything. It made it look really cool, and so I liked it. But Indy used that to kind of do a roll up, and I hate roll up pins. I really do not like a roll up pin. But I did think Indy deserved the win, just because I don't know what they're doing with my girl Indy, and I feel like they don't know what to do with her. And so I think she needed the win, and hopefully they can use something for her, since she did lose her NXT title shot as well against Mandy. But I did like afterwards also, where it kind of had Alba kind of beating her up with the bats, and I felt like it was kind of deserved, considering. Oh, this is a picture of her. She was kind of standing there, and so I was like, okay, I appreciate what they were doing, and that's Indy winning. But yeah, I thought this was a good little thing, considering what Lash Legend did to her last week, and so I was like, I like that they also continued that story over with with Alba and Lash Legend. And Lash Legend has been on both NXT and NXT UK, just with the shenanigans, kind of mess with everybody on the roster. And so I do like that, at least with her character, they really do have her on both shows, and they have where whatever feud she might have had on the UK might have come over, or vice versa. And so I do like it. I did wish that the match was a little longer, but I did think the right person won in this instance.
I mean, where do you think they're going with Lash Legend?
I don't know. I'm hoping that at some point, she's in the title picture, for something. They had the thing with her and Nikita, and clearly that was a feud. Like they literally had them like almost every week going at it. But then Nikita got injured, and so I'm not really sure what they're gonna do with her now. And then they had her kind of going to both brands, kind of just like, I'm gonna mess with everybody and do whatever. And so I like that she was, again, on both shows that introduced both audiences. But I'm hoping it's more than her just kind of having like being like a mean girl. I love Lash Legend, like to see the black women shine on there, but you don't want her only to be like the mean girl either. So I'm hoping that some point there's a title picture, but we might have to wait a little bit because clearly they're having this whole thing, with Roxanne and stuff, and so she could be next up, or I believe they're supposed to be having a tournament. I believe it was mentioned later on, but we'll get more into that. So guess we'll see. With that setup, but it was I just wish they would have kind of gave it some more. And then I know there was a segment after that where it was supposedly Chase U was supposed to be going to like a field trip to London. And so I'm not sure what college, I know it's supposed to be like their little university. And so I don't know what college they have where they're sitting here doing trips like that, but maybe maybe I went to the wrong college or something. I don't know. That wasn't in my school thing. So next match up, we had Tony D'Angelo and Shannon Stacks Lorenzo versus Malik Blade and Idris Enoff. I hope I am saying that right. I always feel like I'd be messing that up. And so this was a okay match. I felt like Stacks got beat up most of this match, honestly. I felt like he got the brunt of the force, but it did allow for Tony. I felt like this is one of the situations like when you have a mafia type family, or you got a group where you're like the henchman takes up all the ass whippings, and then the main guy come in and get the credit. And I felt like that's what was happening here in this match, because he did set it up for Tony D'Angelo to hit his finisher and win. And then they also had them attack Blade after the matchup to kind of prove some loyalty. And so that always seems to be like such a thing with them, like proving the whole loyalty to the family and stuff. But unfortunately, he got beat up after the match, which I felt like was completely unnecessary. But and I believe Santos Escobar should be back soon, they were saying. But yeah, I just it was a solid match. I just wish we would have, poor Stacks really got the brunt end of that of that matchup. And I was just like, come on, man, like really. And then even I thought a moment, at least for me, is I did like the spine buster. I think it was like a leg drop, then a spine buster, which I thought was a pretty good spot for that match. And so it was a good match, but poor Stacks. I felt like he was the one who really got it in this match.
I like the theme. Ooh, I'm getting like a coughing spell. I like the theme of it, but ooh, keep talking, Katrina. Ooh, let me cough. I need a cough.
Oh my yeah, I mean, I do like the story. I like, again, if you're thinking of like mafia or mobster stories, you got the family, you got the henchmen, the best friends, they kind of do the underhanded stuff. And so I like that aspect of it. I just felt like in this match, Tony D'Angelo really didn't do anything, and he definitely let his henchmen take a lot of the brunt of that. And so I'm like, oh, come on, dude. I don't know if that means later on we can get like there'll be some discord really between them with all of the shenanigans like that, but it was solid. I just, I did feel bad for Stacks. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like he was getting his butt kicked the whole time.
I know it was like 6-on-1 or something. Like it was crazy.
It definitely was. And so we are now at we're now at the final part of NXT. And so before we get to this match, they did have the D'Angelo family say they were not involved in the attack, which wouldn't technically make any sense, because why? Like, what issue would you have with Roxanne? She's not really, she's doing her like rise to the top, but it's not like she's like bothering people to get like a random beat up. And so again, I kind of already figured out where we were going with this, but so it was pretty much the situation was, Cora did say that she didn't see who attacked Roxanne, but it had to be Toxic Attraction. And again, of course, it looks like that will be like the main thing if they were already doing the shenanigans. And so I thought they looked nice. I thought the outfits were nice too, in that moment. So they did explain that they weren't involved. And then we kind of got up until, to the matchup. And so Cora does come out, I believe, and they come out together, and Cora kind of challenged Mandy Rose. But then Roxanne walks out for, the match, again, title match for this. And she's kind of taped up, her ribs are taped up. And then, things kind of changed throughout the match. And so you kind of see that I felt like it was pretty even. Like, I like that Mandy's gotten better than how she was when she was on Monday Night Raw, when she was on SmackDown. It was like clearly she was more like just pretty eye candy, and so I like that they got her better with skill set, which is always good. You want the women to thrive and not be useful in that way where they can actually wrestle too. And so I thought that was good. But then we unfortunately get to a situation where Roxy does hit her pop rocks outside, but then Cora used the tag team belts to you know, attack poor Roxanne, who looks very confused. And so, unfortunately, Mandy did retain the match after all of that. And then afterwards, Cora Jade starts to like use her skateboard. I believe it was her skateboard to kind of beat up Roxanne Perez. And it was I knew when that whole parking lot incident happened that it was Cora, just because realistically, I've said this even when Stephanie was on, that I love Roxanne and I think Roxanne is super gifted. And I like that they were making sure we took her seriously. Like, sometimes WWE can be very questionable with what they do with WWE superstars. And so I was like, yes, they're doing her well. They're showing her to be very serious. But it was also very quickly. And so I was like, there's no way there's not going to be some kind of issue about this. I didn't think it would be this soon. But there is no way it wouldn't be an issue. And so sure enough, apparently Carver did feel a way about you know, kind of Roxanne's success kind of immediately. And so this was a heel turn. And so I don't know if this is going to do anything for their tag team belts, because technically they are champions. And while we have previous champions who have worked together, not necessarily being the best of friends, this is a whole different situation because they seen friends before before this week. And so it was a good match. And again, it could have been great if they didn't have that situation. And I did like that, Roxanne definitely sold the injury throughout the match too, which I thought was really good. I
Right.
like that. That's good in ring psychology to me. Like, sell it. Like, you got beat up. It makes sense that you're not super extra perfect during that. So I thought it was a good match. I thought Mandy really did her thing. But I don't know if we're gonna do, like, is this, as you said earlier, is it going to be now we're going to see Roxanne climb back to this position, since they are going to do some kind of like tournament to see whoever the next challenger is? Or is it going to be they're going to kind of push it back a bit to have her feud with Cora? So I don't know. So it was a good match, but I was like, oh, come on, NXT. This soon? I knew it happened. I just didn't think it was going to be really be 7 days later.
Yeah. It makes me question the tag team championship, like whether they're going to keep it or not. Like, we already know it's kind of in flux or pretty much donezo for the main roster. But are they putting a lot of respect on it for NXT? So for Cora to turn on Roxanne for that, and the fact that after they win the tag team championships, Roxanne's like, I'm also going to go for the NXT Women's Championship. It's like, why can't you be happy with this and defend this and have a good reign? But you've already had your eyes set on something else. Which is just kind of almost, agreeing with WWE saying that these tag team championship belts for the women is just, it's not really worth anything. So, this is, play money. You're playing with house money. So, yeah, I'm eager to, or I'm anxious to see what the end road is for the tag team belts. And then for Roxanne, we already know, I think we already know where her trajectory is. I think it's pretty much up to WWE in writing as far as how she'll get there. But I think it's very, given where she started, like last year, this time, I think she was ROH champion. And where she is right now compared to everybody else who's got signed to NXT. And no shade to Roxanne. I believe she's doing a great job, but she also had a great teacher, and her teacher is also affiliated with WWE. So I feel like her trajectory is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with all that particular storyline.
Yeah, I definitely like I said, I understood the turn because again, it's like she just got there. But hopefully they do it well. And I felt like if anything, I guess they used the tag team win as a reason to have Cora return. They could have just had Kaden and Katana win the belt in that case, since they're technically they're supposed to be like a tag team right now. And so I'm like, you could have just have them beat Toxic Attraction, have Toxic Attraction retain if you're gonna have them lose it, have them be like a turn within the team the very next week. So that was like kind of like, but why is this the route we went in this manner? I guess, but I guess we'll see. I feel like I do see her being a champion quite soon, but we'll see. We'll see. So that was it for NXT. And so we will move right on to NXT UK, which had 3 matches. It's only an hour show, and so they usually do pretty well with putting the matches on the card. And so the very first matchup was Amale, excuse me, got that one wrong. Oliver Carter versus Tealman. And so uh I kind of felt bad because he had to lose his belt because of an injury from his tag team partner, Oliver Carter, and so I was kind of sad about it. I really was, because it was nice to kind of see that with their win. So he had his match with a member of the D family, if I'm pronouncing that right, and so they have been trying to get Oliver into their rings and pretty much not really working. I guess he's not really going about all of that. And so he kind of was like a bit merciless and kind of beat him up, like beating poor Oliver up for most of it. But I did like that there was really good moments, especially there was one on top of the ring apron, which was really good. And then I believe he hit like a roundhouse kick, and I love those kind of kicks. I always think roundhouses are super awesome because I can't do it, but other people can, and so it's like, oh, it's super awesome to look at. So Oliver Carter did get the victory, but unfortunately, it wouldn't be all happy, joy, because right after, the rest of the members of the family did beat him up afterwards. And then Tillman did do a reverse DDT to Oliver, and it was really sad. I'm like, oh, he didn't like. He had to lose his tag partner, had to lose the titles, and now he's getting beat. Like, that was so unnecessary. But it was a really, really good match, especially to open up NXT UK. I did enjoy it. And I'm hoping, I don't know where they're gonna go, because again, they're trying to get Oliver into their squad and all. So I don't know if that means he'll go, or it's gonna be one of those like one man versus all of us kind of situations where it's like super underdog because he already lost his tag team partner who's out on injury, but then it's like I'm literally beating up all these guys by myself because it's just me right now. And so I like it. I didn't like that. I like that he got the win. I didn't like that he got beat up afterwards, but I'm hoping that they still continue to do well with him, because I was sad when he had to like kind of relinquish the tag title.
Yeah, it's always sad when you do like people what's the word, like it's like 10-1 or 6-1 or 4-1, like it's one of those things, like, where are your friends at? Like, I get, he had a tag team partner and stuff like that, but I feel like there's so many more. Like, I've been talking about factions for so long. Like, I am a real believer in factions. That doesn't mean that you have to come out in your faction every single time, but there should be like alliances. No matter where we are in life, there are some type of alliances. And I feel like if WWE were to treat it like there's different alliances within this universe, Like, you have the Samoan dynasty, or you have this alliance, you have this alliance, then these people will come out to help. And then it actually makes for more storylines, opposed to having these people out, in an island by themselves. And you can't say there's not enough people. There's more than enough people. And even if some of these people are not, the best wrestler will lead that alliance, and then the rest of them will kind of. So I'm more into that. I wish WWE would do that more, because then you'll get to use more people, and you can get spin-off storylines, just as if in the Power universe, or the Marvel universe, or the DC universe. Like, you can have different variations of the same kind of alliance. So I'm never one for somebody getting beaten up by like 10 people, because, like, do you not have any friends? Like, you got this far and no friends whatsoever. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like I agree with that one, because it's like, even if you're quiet, they might be, unless you're like somebody who's unfortunately really bullied, and then they might not have any friends. I feel like in a situation like Oliver's, it's like it shouldn't be that situation where you really have not one person to kind of help you in this. I was like, come on, like, he already lost his tag partner, his belt. Can we not do this? I felt bad. I did, but it was a really good match. Just I was sad, because I was like, we didn't need that for him. So then the next match up was a women's match. It was Stevie Turner versus Amale, and so we did. I guess it's important to note that Blair Davenport, who just got back to NXT UK last week, was also on commentary during this matchup, and apparently she seems interested. As Amale, even during commentary, kind of calling her a spoiled brat, and that, you know like, I guess she wants the NXT UK's women title. She kind of sees it in her reach, and so this was also a really really good match as well. I actually enjoyed this match. I usually enjoy the women matches, particularly in NXT UK, because they're always really dominant with the women there. But really really good matches. I felt like it was really some hard hitting moments, especially when Stevie kind of did a boot to the face. That was like, ouch. uh but then Amale also did a really good bulldog, which I thought was like really solid, and she wind up winning this match. And so I liked it. I believe she used her finisher, the Hope Breaker, to win this, and she got the win. And then it seemed like, Blair wasn't too happy. And then, so I'm guessing, like, after this match, we probably are going to get, like, a little setup for her and Blair, kind of like a feud, since she's already seems like she's, like, really don't like her too much already. And so I'm guessing that's going to be the next feud between these two, since they're kind of setting it up. But it was a really, really good match. I thought a lot of the spots was really good. Uh, but I was like, okay, I guess we'll see where we're going. I feel like NXT UK does really well with having really hard hitting matches, and this was definitely one of my favorites of the night.
Yeah, I feel like with the NXT UK and maybe the style of wrestling, like, wrestling is never the problem. And their storylines are pretty solid. I just feel like, again, I think we had talked about it earlier today. It's like, is NXT UK just, a part of the brand just in name, and does everybody forget about them? Because it's just kind of, when you have people come over to the main roster, they lose their name, all this other stuff, and they don't really mention NXT UK often, if at all. So it's one of those things where they have solid matches, and I think there's so much wrestling now. We are just talking about in the news where MLW now is having a TV deal, and there's just so much wrestling now. It's just hard to watch everything. But I feel like it's the main roster for WWE were to push NXT UK a little bit more, then more people would probably watch it and or talk about it more too. So, but we're here, we are talking about it, so I guess we're doing our part.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I feel like the UK brand is the one brand people don't watch too much, and I know some of it could be time, because it's like for at least on the East Coast it's 3 p.m. So that means like on the West Coast is noon, and people may or may not be available to watch it, at least when it first airs, because it's not like it's on the Peacock, and so you can't always go back to watch it. But it's like at least with like a Raw, SmackDown, or even NXT, this is like nighttime. People are probably home from work by this point, and so it's not like they're missing too much of it, where they have to remember to go back. I feel like with NXT being across the pond, the time is a little different, and so I'm not sure if they're still filming, because like Lash Legend was legit on like both shows, and so I'm not sure if they're really like over across the pond, but time wise, it's 8 p.m. for them, but 3 p.m. in the East. So I think, yeah, if they focus more on maybe having them, or maybe if they can do more, getting more of the other people on the UK, people might be more inclined. I like that they were already started doing that, where they having people appear on both shows, and maybe more people will start watching that way. But I mean, it's always really solid stuff. Like every week, I feel like it's always really like good stuff. So you would think maybe they will by the end of the year. And so the final matchup of NXT UK, I believe, was like a 6 round for the NXT UK Heritage Cup. I think it was supposed to be like 6 rounds. And so I thought it was a really interesting concept that they had. And so it was Noam Dar versus Mark Coffey. And so this was like, his chance to kind of capture his first singles title, you know, by himself, out of his, the Godless members that he was part of. And so they did ban, some of the members of their squads from the side, which I thought was pretty cool. And so this was a really, I thought this was a really hard-hitting match, honestly. There were moments where it got a bit crazy. Especially with some of the elbow strikes. I was like, okay, see, that's why I'm not a wrestler, because I would forget that we are like wrestling, and I'm gonna probably really want to fight for real. And so I thought a lot of the things were really hard, with like some of the elbows, some of the kicks to the face. There was like a bunch of strikes that was like yikes with the forearm, that it was like ouch, ouch, ouch. And so there was a lot of the rounds, but ultimately Mark Coffey did win the NXT UK Heritage Cup with 2 out of, wins of the 3. I believe Noam got one of the wins. And so I thought that was really cool, kind of like a title change, if you will. But it was a really, really entertaining match. And then afterwards, we also saw Joe kind of return and kind of gave, like a nice celebration, and hugged his brother, which I thought was really nice, little sweet moment there. Like, oh yay, like you're happy. I thought it was really good. I thought his emotion was really good, and there was even another moment that I really enjoyed as well, where like the NXT UK roster kind of cheered for them, and I thought it was really good, because it was a really, really good, like, solid match. They really both put it out in the ring. So we have a new UK Heritage Cup winner. And so I'm interested to see what they do with that. But it was a really good way to end NXT UK. Again, for the time that they have and the matches that they have, they usually really knock out the park with the matches. It's always like really good action, not too much. Like, there's stories there clearly, and there's little segments, but it's not over the top where it takes too much away from the hour that we have. And so I really enjoyed NXT UK this week, and I felt like every match was really solid. So it was like a nice opening, nice middle, and nice end. So really nice ending to NXT UK for this week.
Unmute myself. You have to put a little bit more thought into television. Maybe like the main roster could take a page out of this book, because when you have an hour of television, you have to put a little bit more thought into what you put on, because you'll only have an hour. So it might be, shortening the matches, whatever, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for, useless storylines or storylines that don't make sense. So maybe if, like, and of course this is, wishing, because this is not going to happen, but it Raw and SmackDown were to both go down to an hour, just to like almost like do a restart, and like, okay, you guys have an hour of television, like, you have an hour to make it work. I wonder what the storylines and what it would look like, and I think it would look a lot better initially, and then you can kind of build back to the 2 and 3 hours. But you see it with any show, anything that has an hour, it's pretty concise. And then now you're looking at regular shows that are 30 minutes. You have to do the story, give all the suspense, and then tie that baby up in 30 minutes. So yeah, I feel like with NXT UK, the times that I have watched it consistently, it has been like a solid, if not for the storyline, just like solid great wrestling, which is not necessarily the case with the other brands at times.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Raw takes out 1 hour, just take away one of those hours. I don't think we need 3 hours. If you're gonna put it 2 hours, and I get it, it's on a cable channel, you need commercials, and I totally understand that. Put it down to 2. I feel like if they do that, we could probably get some better stuff happening, because sometimes Raw is just like like
Yeah.
when I used to do the reviews and I had to watch 3 hours of that and like get myself pumped up to do the review show, I was like, yeah, I can't. Like, I can't even pretend that I'm like hype about this, because a lot of the times you get like an hour of just like nonsense and you're like, oh my god, nothing happened.
Right.
And so, power to people who do, power to our hosts who do it here too, because I knew I couldn't. I was like, that's like bedtime now. So now I'm like, and by the time Raw is off, I'm like laying down. And so I feel like if you get it down to 2 hours, or SmackDown is 2 hours, and then even then they be doing shenanigans. I feel like I like that NXT UK definitely do focus on more concise storytelling, and like it's always really good matches. And I'm not saying that, maybe it's a style thing because they're from overseas. I don't know if that's like because of how they train, if it's different, but a lot of them always really know how to kick some ass. Like I feel like they're always so hard hitting, and I'm like, God, like could it be me? That's why I don't wrestle, because I will be like kayfabe out the window backstage. Not gonna hit me all crazy in the ring, and I'm supposed to be like, yay, but no, absolutely not. Personally, but it was a really good. NXT was good. This week I did think I liked the UK a little better, just because again very concise. But it was solid, and I'm interested to see what happens next week. I feel like there's so many things we can do now. There's a couple of feuds they started off, so we'll see what they do. And but it was good. I thought it was a solid wrestling from both shows.
It's nice to see like feuds, or look forward to feuds, opposed to sometimes like with the other promotions where it's just like, I have no idea I don't know who's next. I don't know what's happening. I am clueless at where this is going, or it was going somewhere and then it completely stopped. So it's nice to see solid feuds or stuff building, and building in a timely fashion. Like obviously if it's two bigger names, you have a little bit more time to build, but because the way NXT UK is set up, it's newer names to us in the WWE universe and not necessarily on the indie scene. Those feuds don't have to be as long, but they make sense. So again, we'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes for WWE across. I think it's a trickle down thing. Whatever happens to the main roster, it's going to happen through NXT and NXT UK, and then we have these tryouts happening as well. That we're going to start seeing something different. Like this time next year is going to be something totally different. I feel like things are the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of changes for better or worse. I have no idea, but I definitely see that coming down the pipe. So we will see.
Yeah, I definitely. I am excited about the new signees and the new people they're signing. I know people don't like it, and I've heard people complain, and I'm like, at the end of the day, WWE does wrestle, but they've always been more into entertainment, especially since Mr. Man has been running the helm. And so you have to expect that they're gonna, yes, you have people who wrestle, but you have people who not only look apart, because a lot of the athletes that they've been signing, they look like they could, like if you didn't know better, you're like, all right, this person clearly wrestles, as far as way like their body build is and the way they look physically. And so obviously everybody does not make it, because quite a few of the people they signed the last couple of times, they were released during those releases. So clearly everybody's not making it, but I do like that they're having a mixture of both athletes that has the look that maybe can be trained, and then you have the people who do know how to wrestle. And so I like it. I don't think it's I mean, I get like if you got the indie person who really wants to get to WWE and they haven't gotten there yet after like 15, and I totally get that. I understand that, but it's also like don't necessarily knock it because listen, half of the wrestlers we loved in the Attitude Era were football players. Like Roman Reigns was a football player. Goldberg was a football player. Baron Corbin was a football player. There's people who've done sports previously. The Rock. There are people who became really big names after doing some kind of athletics and made it into WWE. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing or that they won't make it. We just have to see how well they can pull off entertaining because I feel like that's the biggest thing.
JD says don't use Goldberg
You're
as
right.
an example.
You're right. Because I was trying to be nice today because I normally Goldberg would get a whole rant about how a waste, like one of the most worst wrestlers I've ever seen, and I just this whole rant, and so I was being nice today. I used him as,
and then we also had the Diva era too. We had a lot of the Diva era. A lot of them just came from modeling or pseudo modeling. And some of them made it and some of them didn't, but there's a lot of them that we still talk about today that was the impact on women's wrestling, and they weren't necessarily born diehard wrestling fans. So yeah, it's a mix. We'll see. I don't like the fact that they make all this hoopla on the signing of somebody for only like 90 days. I feel like that is like playing with somebody's emotions. I'd rather we quietly do this 90-day stint and we see if it works, and then all of a sudden I pop up and I'm on your TV screen. Like, I don't want to make this major announcement and now everybody's seeing me and then it doesn't work out.
Yeah. I definitely think they should get better with that. But we know, like I said, they wrestle, but they're also entertainment. How well can they entertain? And so we shall see. But so we have a host of shows that happens every week. If you guys are watching, but definitely check out. I believe today there is Creep Squad today. I believe it is. We have Creep Squad. That is today at 10 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, or 11.
7:30 Pacific time, whatever is
that. So that means it's 10:30 on my. So 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern time. There's also the Impact recap show as well, and Nikki does an amazing job always live tweeting that as well. So if you're on Twitter, definitely go and engage and interact, and then pop in for the live recap show. And then we have tomorrow, which will be SmackDown, I believe, as well, recap. And then you have also WWT Live, which is our new. Oh, that's not tomorrow?
Not on Fridays.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
Monday to Thursday.
That was smart. That was so smart. That was super smart.
Daily show format.
Super smart. Sundays is Turnbuckle Glam, so you see all the fabulous women looking absolutely fabulous over the week, and they talk about that on that show. Mondays is Monday Night Raw's recap show, and as she said, from Monday to Thursday, WWT Live, and then Tuesdays, which I am on with Emily and Mika, and hopefully she's getting better. We do the Dishy Indies, which is about indie wrestling and other things that does not qualify as the major wrestling promotions. And then on Wednesdays, it is the Dynamite Dolls doing the AEW recap. So we have a lot of stuff happening on Twitch. You can follow us on the YouTube. Definitely follow all the social media and all that good stuff at www.talkpod.com. And I believe every social media should be www.talkpod, except for TikTok. I think TikTok is www.talk. Yeah. And I run that account, so definitely hop in. I try to get all the clips up there without spamming too much. I try to pace it. But definitely have some awesome things on there. People have definitely been engaging on that, so definitely make sure to check out all of our things. We have articles every day happening on, so just a whole bunch of stuff happening, a lot of content. And as far as where you can find me, I am pretty much on anything on InCat We Trust. Just if you're on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, the E is a 3.
Boom, there it is. You did it. You did it all. You can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad, but keep following the brand. And yeah, that's about it. Till you see each other again, wherever that might be.
Next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.